Hey everyone, I'm Liz and today I'm going to be showing you how I made this tapestry curtain using crochet. Some things that you're going to need are a tapestry or sheet in any size, some chalk to mark your inches, a crochet hook, I'm going to be using a size J, a sharp needle to sew your tapestry, and a pair of scissors to cut off your yarn. Some yarns that you're going to need are some chunky charisma from Loops and Threads. I'm going to be using Northern Lights. Depending on how big your tapestry is, you may need to use more than one skein, but I ended up just needing one. And you'll need some worsted weight Red Heart yarn in the color of your choice. I'm going to be using Iced Aqua from Red Heart with Love. And here is the tapestry that I'm going to be using. This one is 51 by 60 inches. I'll put a link in the description if you want to purchase the same tapestry that I used, but again, you can use any tapestry that you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is to mark each inch of the top of my tapestry with my chalk. As you can see, I've already marked it a little bit, but I'm just going to darken these lines. Then I'm going to take some measuring tape and just use that to make sure my lines are an inch apart. So I'm just going to mark each inch of my tapestry. Okay, now that each inch is marked, I'm going to use my yarn needle to sew a zigzag line across the front of my tapestry using my thinner yarn. As you can see, I've already done this side. So I'm going to insert my needle between the first line and the edge at the back of the tapestry, about a ½ inch down. Then I'm going to go into the edge of this side of the tapestry. I'm going to create a loop around the edge, so I'm going to insert my needle back through the same spot to create my loop. And now that I have my loop, I'm going to go back in where I first started. Now I'm going to zigzag up, so I'm going to go in right at my second line about a ½ inch down. And now, as you can see, I have my first zigzag line. So to create my second, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go into that space between the two lines about a ½ inch down. Now I'm in the middle of my next zigzag line, so I'm going to go up toward the previous line. Then back into the middle. And finally up toward my next marked line. And now I have my second zigzag line, so I'm just going to repeat this pattern to create a zigzag line across the entire top of the tapestry. So now I've gotten to the end of my yarn, so I'm just going to sew this end in and start again with another piece of yarn. So I have a new piece of yarn, so I'm just going to sew through until the end is just sticking out. Then I'm going to sew around that end. Then I'm just going to continue where I left off. Now that I've finished creating my zigzag line with my thinner yarn and my needle, I'm going to use my chunky yarn and my crochet hook. And I'm going to do a row of slip stitches on top of the zigzag line. So I'm going to start in this little loop that I put at the very edge of the work. I'm going to start right here. So I'm going to insert my hook into this loop that I put at the edge of the tapestry. And then I'm going to pull up a loop of my chunkier yarn through that loop created by the thinner yarn. Now I'm going to chain one. And then I'm going to pull on my tail a little bit just to close up that first loop that I pulled up. And now I am going to do a row of slip stitches in every stitch that I created with my needle. So I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to pull that loop through the loop on my hook. And now I'm going to go into the next one, and same thing. Pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the other loop on my hook. And I'm going to do this all the way across in every single stitch. For my first row. So I have gotten to the opposite end from where I began, so I'm going to go into that stitch that I put around the edge of this side, just like I did for the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that stitch. Then I'm going to chain one, turn the work around so that I am on the back of the tapestry now. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the area that I did on the back of the tapestry. And then I'm going to chain one, slip stitch into the next one, and chain one. And I'm going to continue to slip stitch into each one of these back stitches. Now I'm doing this on both sides because I want to make sure that the fabric of the tapestry isn't going to be pulled from either side. So I want to have my stitches coming up from both ends. So I'm just going to continue to slip stitch and chain 1 until I get to the opposite side where I first started my row. So now I've gotten back to the side where I first began my row, and I am going to chain 1 more and slip stitch again. But here's where I sewed my end in, so there's a lot more lines here than for all of my other stitches. I'm just going to go under where the area for my inch is marked. So I'm going to go right next to where I've marked that inch with my chalk. And I'm going to slip stitch right there. And any areas where you have sewn in an end, you're just going to want to make sure that your slip stitch is wherever you put your marks for your inches. So I've just done my last slip stitch before the end of the row, so I'm going to chain 1 more. And then I'm going to slip stitch into this loop that I put at the edge. So I'm going to go into that same loop that I went into to begin the row on the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that loop. So I have slip stitched into that first loop of the row. So now I'm going to chain 1 to begin my next row. I'm going to do a row of double crochet before I add my loops. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into that first slip stitch that I made. I'm going to pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And I'm going to repeat that in every single stitch of the row all the way around. So I'm going to do the front and the back of the curtain, and I'm going to do 1 row of double crochet in every single slip stitch that I made in the front. And when I get to the back, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to go into the slip stitch and the 1 chain that I made on the back. So I'm going to continue to add double crochets to the front of my piece. So I have gotten to the opposite end, and I have done every double crochet on the front of the tapestry. So I'm going to turn my work around, and I'm going to start to work in these slip stitches that I put on the back of the tapestry. So again, I'm going to yarn over into that set of slip stitches and chains. I'm going to pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And I'm going to do this until I get to the opposite end . So once again, I've gotten to the end of this side. So now I'm going to join the two sides together. So I'm going to go into that first stitch that I made on the opposite side, into the top of that stitch, and I'm going to pull a loop through, and then I'm going to slip stitch so that the first stitch on this side and the first stitch on this side will be joined together at the top. And then I'm going to chain one. So since I'm going to not make mine any longer, I'm just going to use single crochet. So I've chained one, but if you want to make yours even longer, then you can chain two and continue using double crochet instead. But I'm going to join these two sides together. I'm going to press them so that they are evened out. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch on the front side and on the back side. And then I'm going to pull my loop through, and I'm going to single crochet. And I am going to continue doing that until I get to the other side. And if you want to make your piece a lot longer, then you can add as many rows as you want after this row. You would just need to chain up to get to the next row. So I'm just going to continue single crocheting until I get to the opposite side. So I have gotten to the end of my row of single crochet, and I'm going to stop extending the length of this part of my curtain. Now if you wanted to, you could continue to add more rows to make it longer, but I'm not going to do that. And also, if you wanted to, you could just stop here, and you could use some kind of loop like this one to attach your curtain to the curtain rod. And you could attach it by just going in between the stitches in your double crochet row and threading that loop through, just like that. Or if you wanted to make it longer to do the same thing, then you could just add another row or however many of double crochet so that you could fit your loop between the rows. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make a set of loops out of my yarn. So the next thing I'm going to do to make my loops is I'm going to chain two for my next row. And then I'm going to turn my work around. And now I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. So yarn over, go to the next stitch, and double crochet. Okay, so now I have two double crochets, so I'm going to chain one. And every time I do my two double crochets in this row, I'm going to chain one after. And now I'm going to yarn over 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that I have a total of 5 loops on my hook. And then I'm going to pull up a loop in the next stitch. So now I have a total of 6 loops on my hook. So I'm going to pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So I should be pulling through 5 times. And that's going to create my first loop. So now I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, Go to the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2 and pull through 2. And then I'm going to do one more double crochet, so yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2 and pull through 2. And now I'm going to do my chain 1. So chain 1, and now I'm going to yarn over 4 times again. So I have 5 loops on my hook. I'm going to pull up a loop. And then I'm going to pull through my loops 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. And now I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to do my 2 double crochets. So since the beginning of the row was mostly black stitches and you couldn't see very clearly what I was doing, I'm going to show you again how to do that in the middle of the row here with these blue stitches. So I've just finished my 2 double crochets. So I'm going to chain 1. And now I'm going to yarn over 4 times. Okay. And now I should have a total of 5 loops on my hook. So I'm going to pull up a loop in the next stitch. Now I have a total of 6 loops on my hook. So now I'm going to pull through 5 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to do my 2 double crochets. And if you didn't want to put as many loops as I'm going to put, then you could put more than 2 double crochets if you want. You could put 3 or 5 or even 6. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted my curtain to have a lot of loops because I think that it would just look nicer that way. So if you want to do that, then you can add 5 or 6 or however many more double crochets. And then chain 1. And then once again, yarn over 4 times. Pull up a loop, and then pull through 5 times. And chain 1, and then double crochet again for however many stitches that you're going to be doing. I'm just going to keep on doing 2 double crochets. Okay, so I have gotten to the last stitch of the row, so I'm just going to chain 1 to end my row. And I'm going to cut off my yarn. And now I'm just going to weave in this end. As you can see, I have threaded all of my loops onto my curtain rod. and I'm going to show you what it looks like when I have put it up. So here is the finished curtain on the wall. Here's how the crochet part looks. And this is how the whole curtain looks on the wall. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comments section below, or you can get in touch with me on Facebook and Tumblr. Links will be in the description. And be sure to subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more tutorials in the future, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!